Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
Good morning, I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal. Today I'm joined in studio by Carol Wall and Bob Wilkins. They are members of the Yarmouth New Church Preservation Foundation. They are co-sponsoring the upcoming Cape Cod House Tour going on Saturday, September 13th. Good morning. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. So I don't know which one of you wants to take this first question, but what is a Cape Cod house?
Why don't I start?
Okay.
Cape Cod House is a style of architecture that refers to the front facade as one story high with a prominent roof that we see all over Cape Cod, and particularly in Yarmouth Port and the surrounding towns. And the style actually originated on the Cape. It probably has origins dating back to England, but notably the Cape Cod style house is the characteristic and uniquely Cape Cod style of architecture that we have in Yarmouth Port and other Cape Cod towns.
And it's relatively, it now has spread certainly to New England, but
Cape Cod houses can be found throughout the country and into other countries too,
right.
Canada, for example.
Right. Yeah, I know that they're also very common on the Vineyard. So, when we talk about the tour now, Carol, how many houses are involved? It's just sort of a display of this style of architecture.
Yes, there are 9 houses, and they represent the different types of the Cape Cod house style, which is the half Cape Cod, the three-quarter Cape Cod, the full Cape Cod, and some of them, of course, have been added onto over the years. So they're very interesting examples of what has happened to the Cape Cod house over the years.
And when you say interesting examples, because of the additions that have been placed on them, or?
Yes, and the ages differ. I believe we have, we have
houses that date from the 18th century right on through the mid-20th century, because the Cape Cod house style persevered and evolved over the course of 2 or more centuries. And I should probably explain to you a little bit about what we mean by half, three-quarter, and full capes.
I was going to get to that, yeah.
A full Cape Cod house is, when looked at from the front or the street, is a bilaterally symmetrical house, which is to say that the doorway is in the center of the facade, and it's flanked typically by 2 windows to the left and the right of the doorway. A three-quarter Cape has a doorway that is flanked on one side by 2 windows and 1 window on the opposite side, and a half Cape has a doorway on one side of the facade and 2 windows on the other side of the facade. So that's a simple explanation for the 3 different styles.
Are they all general? Obviously, they vary with regard to each particular house, but are they generally, even though there are 3 different styles that you see on the facade, are they generally about the same size?
Relatively speaking,
okay.
They're about the same size. Of course, there are differences depending on the dimensions of the interior rooms that are on the front of the house.
Is there a particular architect that's credited with this style of work?
I don't believe so. Or if there is, I don't know who that architect would have been. I think that this was a style that was developed by homeowners. Part of the reason for this style of architecture is that the prominent roof protected the house from the elements, so that without central heat, the homeowners would be kept warm and cozy during the long winters and also to prevent rain from entering the house.
And I think that
wind and snow.
I think that Cape Cod houses also, do they typically have a chimney or a fireplace in the middle, and then you see the chimney smack in the center of the roof?
Yes, in general, that's true.
Okay, and obviously it all varies depending on the particular house.
Sure, there are almost unlimited variety of possible variations on the theme, but in general, you're correct.
Okay. And Carol, so tell me about the Cape Cod House Tour. How did this event get started?
Well, it began because the people in town we're very proud of our architecture, And also, it's a very good fundraiser for both organizations. Both organizations, the Historical Society and the Yarmouth New Church, really survive on donations and gifts from people all over town and really all over the Cape. So this is going to be very helpful for us. We also have had a lot of interest and questions from people who have not been on a house tour for quite a few years. So we felt that this year would be a very good time to do it. And indeed, there's a lot of demand for the tickets. Tickets are going fast. They're $30 now and $35 the day of the tour.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get all that in.
Okay.
We should clarify that this is a collaborative effort between the New Church and the Yarmouth Historical Society?
Exactly.
Okay. And how many you said there are 9 houses on the tour?
Right.
And what are the general ages of those homes?
Well, they vary from the 18th century on up into the 20th century. And they are going to be all along the main street of Yarmouth Port and down closer to the bay. There's one house. And there are a couple of houses on Summer Street, which is right off Main Street. And we will have a trolley to take people around if they don't want to drive. And we would suggest that they do use that trolley that day.
Oh, right. So it's not something that you're not just going to walk from home to home. They're spread out.
One can do that.
Oh, okay.
Certainly the houses are within walking distance.
Okay. And how are the houses chosen? Are they nominated? Does someone...
We had a committee, and I was one of the members of the committee. People, both Historical Society members and New Church members, participated. And what we did was we walked around the town and we took photos of the exteriors of the houses that we thought looked promising. And then we reviewed those and we culled that herd down to a manageable number of houses that
How many do you think you started with?
Oh, we photographed virtually every Cape Cod house in Yarmouth Port.
Oh, okay. So
starting from Union Street and extending past Willow Street.
So an obviously very selective process to narrow it down to 9 finalists.
And then we found 9 homeowners who were happy to do this.
That was going to be my next question. What sort of a response do you get generally when you knock on someone's door and say, "Hey, we'd like to bring a bunch of strangers through your place"? What do you say?
Well, we didn't actually come into every house cold. We did have some homeowners that we knew, since we both live in Yarmouth Port.
Okay.
But in general, I did knock on at least a couple of homes cold, and
who could turn Bob down?
Anyway, I wasn't turned down, and we found the reception to be generally positive. The caliber of human being that goes on these tours. I've been on actually our house was on a tour once a number of years ago, and it's an extremely nice group of people who come, who are interested in the houses and respectful of the houses and the owners, so that once we made that point clear to the owners, they were generally very receptive to having actually quite flattered that their houses were selected to be on the tour.
Now, is there a particular feature or characteristic that you look for? How did you choose these 9 out of, let's say, the dozens that you had initially?
I would say variety was the primary consideration. We have some houses that are extremely faithful to their historic aspects. In other words, there have been very little changes along the way. Some houses that have been modified in what we thought were architecturally interesting ways to reflect how the house itself evolved and was in that sense organic. And then we have one really interesting, and I think people will love this house, reproduction Cape Cod house that has been beautifully renovated by its current owners with wonderful landscaping, and the exteriors of some of these homes are going to be as significant as the interiors for people to look at. A lot of these,
and so on.
Yeah, a lot of these houses are really beautiful on the outside, and the landscaping is really, really well done.
That brings me to my next question, which is who participates in the tour generally? Do you find landscape architects or
everybody,
historians and
all walks of humanity? But as I say, a nice group of people who are sincerely interested and want to pay $30
right.
for the privilege of seeing these houses.
Right.
Most of these houses are, in fact, all these houses are not open to the public. We didn't pick any B&Bs, for example, or other properties that might be accessible without going on the tour. If you want to see these houses, unless you know the owners, you're going to have to buy a ticket to go on the tour.
On September 13th?
On September 13th, yes.
Okay, Carol. So how long does the tour take? Let's say why don't you tell me the hours first?
The hours are from 11 to 4 on
and will
Saturday
it take the 5?
the 13th.
It'll take the full 5 hours?
Well, no. I think that probably people, depending on how much they linger, I would say they would be able to go through in 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And then we have lectures at the new church at 11 and then 1 and at 3 p.m. that are covering various aspects of both the architecture and what happened to the history, particularly in the early part of the settlement of Yarmouth Port. But so I would say that it would be about 2 hours. And several of the restaurants in Yarmouth have taken a 10% discount for lunch or whatever during the day so that people can make a whole day of it if they'd like to.
Okay.
And there'll be lemonade and water available.
Yeah. Terrific.
But we should probably point out that these are self-guided tours. So people can take as long or as short a time as they choose, and they don't have to go to all 9 houses if they don't want to. So depending on the individual interest, the house tour could last the full 5 hours or considerably less time than that.
I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal. Today I'm joined in studio by Carol Wall and Bob Wilkins. They are members of the Yarmouth New Church Preservation Foundation, and we are discussing the upcoming Cape Cod House Tour, which will take place Saturday, September 13th. So when you go on the tour, generally how long do people spend in the houses? I guess it depends on their interest in that particular style of architecture. And now they're free to go throughout the home. Are the homeowners generally there? Or
what we have docents that will be strategically placed inside each house, and the homeowners are free to select. We encourage the homeowners to allow the participants to tour the entire house, but obviously some areas of the house might not be suitable for touring. We have some Cape Cod houses, if you're familiar with antique Cape Cod house architecture, have very steep staircases, so we have liability issues that we need to think about insofar as that's concerned. But in general, the houses will be open, and they will be available for people to tour at their own pace and see what they want to see, where they want to see it, inside and out.
Now, are the homeowners generally on the premises when
They can be, and I think most will be, but it's not necessary because we have volunteers, a large contingent of volunteers who will be, as I said, strategically placed throughout the house to help people with questions they might have about the house, and also to protect the interests of the homeowners, obviously.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I would think that it'd be helpful if the homeowner were there to answer any questions or whatever. So they're welcome to stay if they want to.
They're welcome, and we do encourage that.
Okay. So, Carol, tell me about you've brought in the guide to the Cape Cod House Tour. So tell me about the guide and how people can get one and where they can get it.
Yes, the guide that you're looking at is actually the ticket itself also, so that when people buy that brochure-looking thing, it is the ticket. And the tickets are for sale in various parts of town. One of the easiest places to pick one up is the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod, which is right on Main Street in Yarmouth Port. And they can also call this number, 508-771-1224. Oh, sorry, I gave the wrong number. 508-362-3021. They can call for tickets.
Okay, and how many do you have a limit on how many tickets you'll sell?
We have about 600 available.
Okay.
So they're going fast.
I was going to say it sounds like a popular...
Yes, we would suggest that people call right away.
And this is this guidebook, I'm flipping through it here. It's really helpful because it gives, it shows a photograph of the property as well as a description of each home, so people can kind of go through this and pick and choose. If they don't want to do the whole tour, they can find something maybe that they are interested in one particular fashion or another.
Yes.
So, how many years has this been going on?
Has what been going on?
The tour. How many years have you done this?
Well, under the aegis of the joint aegis of the HSOY and the YNCPF, this is the first time.
Oh, okay. So it's the inaugural effort. Well, it'll be interesting to see. It sounds like a fascinating tour, and it sounds as though it's popular.
We're just very happy that this is a joint effort.
Right.
It's the first time, I think, that we've done a joint effort.
It is.
This nature, yes.
You said the tickets are $30 each, and where does the money go? It goes to benefits your two organizations?
Split evenly between the two organizations.
Okay. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about the Yarmouth New Church Preservation Foundation?
Okay. Well, we were established in 1998. We're a nonprofit, non-religious organization. And our mission is to preserve the historic new church in Yarmouthport, which was built in 1870 designed by a Boston architect, Samuel Thayer, and built by a local builder, John Hinckley. And the new church is a remarkable period Gothic example of church architecture with its original frescoes inside still intact. We have since 1980 raised in the vicinity of $1 million to restore the church because it had unfortunately fallen into quite derelict condition before the YNCPF was formed. And our last remaining project is the restoration of the interior frescoes, which were painted by a professional Boston paint decorator whose name was P.A. Butler. So this is a hidden gem within the town of Yarmouthport, and we hope to unveil it for a wider audience, and this tour is part of the effort to do that.
Right.
Yes, and we have a lot of both art exhibits and musical presentations during the summer.
Right.
All right.
The church is being restored for community use.
Okay. Terrific. Well, good luck with the tour. It sounds like it's going to be a fun day, and I'm sure you're going to sell many of those 600 tickets that you have. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks
we hope we'll
very
see
much.
you there, Rob.
Possibly. I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal. Today I was joined by Carol Wall and Bob Wilkins. They are members of the Yarmouth New Church Preservation Foundation, and we've been discussing the upcoming Cape Cod Home Tour taking place September 13th.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.